What you're about to hear is the story of Theodor Herzl, a journalist and playwright known today as the founding father of Israel. Herzl's Zionist Congress at the end of the 19th century represents the climax of 2,000 years of the Jewish diaspora. Herzl himself lives as proof that OCD can change the world. His is the story of an hysteric who went on to have a mountain named after him. In the words of George Clemenceau, Herzl was a great man. In some things he was monumentally naive, but are not all great men. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the honor to present the first episode of Speed Levitch's The Birth of the New Ghetto.
Dear listener, to turn of the century Vienna, a capital city burgeoning with innovative genius that'll give rise to modern art, science, philosophy, and includes the invention of psychiatry. In the midst of all this, we meet Theodor Herzl, a 20-year-old playwright prodigy in his own mind, as he finally gets his meeting with Friedrich Mitterwurzer, renowned director of the stage.
Mr. Mitterwurzer, let me just say once again how deeply honored and flattered I am that you, such an accomplished and well-renowned thespian, a true celebrity of the Viennese stage, would take time for little me, who has yet to...
Yes!
Yes. Let's move right to what I've brought you. I have a feeling you're going to love it. Please, sir, do not read this as the ridiculous self-aggrandizement of an unjustifiably vain fool.
Yes!
On the contrary, I say this rather with the quiet self-confidence of a man who knows his own worth and disdains any display of false modesty.
Say what? What are you saying?
That it really doesn't matter whether this play gets staged at the Wallner Theater or in the Berg Theater. One way or another, it's certain to make its way.
Yes!
I feel justified in assuming you did not read it the first time I submitted it to you, and so I'm here resubmitting it to you once again. I had to. You see, Mr. Mitterwurzer, this play cries out to be staged. It must be produced. It must get to the people. I wrote it in 3 weeks. 3 weeks of glowing elation and hard work. I call this piece an innovative natural as opposed to naturalistic. In reality, it's a realistic comedy of the more subtle kind.
Yes!
This piece is my reaction to all this naturalism that's been sweeping the country lately, this Scandinavian wave, all this Ibsen and Strindberg and Ibsen. I, for one, cannot wait until that passing abominable fad passes.
Young man, please, may we just get on with this?
Okay, yeah. It's called Hagenau. One word, just Hagenau.
Hagenau.
That's it, you got it, Hagenau. So our protagonist is Count Robert Schenk von Hagenau. He's the impoverished heir to an ancient noble line, a noble line that is as noble as it is now bankrupt. Count Hagenau, he's rich in the most important ways, except cash. So, the great blue-blood nobleman, Count Hagenau, has been forced to sell his ancestral home to a newly wealthy Jewish bourgeois family, the Lowensteins. When the play opens, they're all seated together at dinner in this new upper-middle-class castle. Count Hagenau still sits at the head of the table, but Herr Lowenstein sits at the other head of the table. And next to Herr Lowenstein sits his son Karl Lowenstein, who is wearing a lieutenant's uniform. As a sign of the leveling power of our time, young Karl Lowenstein's nose, in profile, is altogether straight and of moderate, even one might say appropriate size.
Theodor lifts his face to the ceiling, dramatically displaying his nose for Mr. Mitterwurzer's appraisal.
And as the elder Lowensteins, as for them, they seem quite indistinguishable in dress, in bearing, and in speech to the Hagenaus. Mrs. Lowenstein, seated next to the Countess von Hagenau, was dressed no less tastefully than her neighbor. Her French and German were just as impeccable as Countess von Hagenau's, as were her table manners.
Okay, stop. Stop right there.
Stop there? But you didn't see what's about to happen. It'll take you by surprise. The young Karl Lowenstein forms a fast friendship with none other than Count Hagenau himself. Imagine it, Mr. Mitterwurzer. A Lowenstein and a Hagenau. Buddies.
I cannot take this boredom any longer.
Boredom?
Young man, why don't you try modeling your characters on real people rather than on mannequins in a theater museum? Certainly, and without a doubt, you have talent, imagination, but it seems to me that you should treat human beings with a little more respect. You ought to look to them more seriously and in depth if you want to portray them.
Well, I understand that this might all seem far-fetched to the likes of you, Mr. Mitterwurzer, but I assure you it is not. Indeed, what I'm portraying here is possible in our own lifetimes.
What is possible in our own lifetimes?
I'm telling you, Mr. Mitterwurzer, Jews, given a chance, will someday learn to talk and act like proper ladies and gentlemen. Of course, for this to occur, the Jews will have to shed these peculiarities for which they are rightfully being criticized.
So young Karl Lowenstein's nose symbolizes what?
You see, Mr. Mitterwurzer, I've thought about it a great deal, and I'm telling you that although the Jews are still reeking of the ghetto and speaking a gutter language,
yes,
despite all of that, Mr. Mitterwurzer, I believe that one day the Jews will figure it out. They will adapt. They've done it before. You see, the Jews are like seals.
Seals?
Yes, they're like seals swept into the ocean by an accident of nature. Give them a chance to return to dry land for a few generations, and their fins will turn into feet again.
Yes, well, let me just reiterate that your play, in my opinion, is helpless, and I will not, repeat not, be recommending it for production.
Later that day, Theodor sits alone in his room, anxiously awaiting his only friend, Heinrich Kana. Whereas Theodor always has great posture, Kana hunches over in the wrinkled blazers of the poor academic which he is. And as such, Kana is well aware that Theodor is a terrible playwright.
Kana, finally, you're here.
What's wrong, Theodor? You seem frustrated about something.
I'm still going over that meeting with Mitterwurzer in my mind.
Just let it go.
No, I'm telling you, Kana. What really bothers me about the whole thing with Mitterwurzer...
Yes?
He never said a word about whether he found the play good or bad.
Uh-huh.
It really surprises me, it really does.
Does it now?
I would have thought that he would have, at the very least, accepted Hagenau with some changes, and to changes or even to cuts, I would have been readily agreed.
Did you mention the part about Karl Lowenstein's nose?
I did. Yes, I did. Death and damnation. Will this go on forever? Success will not come. Yet I need success. I thrive only on success.
Settle down, Theodore. You act as if you're the only young Jew with a secret script stashed in his drawer that he works on feverishly when no one is looking.
You're mocking me as usual.
No, I'm trying to help you. Instead of despairing, why not take a more lucid look at yourself? When you do, I think you'll be pleased to learn that you're simply making the wrong choice for your career. I know a place where you can achieve all sorts of success, but it's not in the theater.
Then it's the wrong kind. The wrong kind of success.
I mean, look at your qualities, okay? 1, you're good at sarcasm, right? 2, your worldview is socially irrelevant in a very palatable and entertaining way. 3, you don't write to express yourself, you write in order to impress others. 4, your polish, your style, your syntax are all superb, and you have a natural ability to skitter gracefully over the surface of things. Don't you see? Isn't it obvious? You're a journalist.
A journalist? The one profession that's older than the oldest profession? How dare you?
I'm not so sure that self-awareness is your game, that's all. It's not for everyone, you know.
You call this help?
You should be proud of yourself, Theodore. Your playwriting career has been a stunning example of dogged determination. Your dogged determination is something special, you know? Your dogged determination is not just an athlete, it's an Olympiad. It can achieve just about anything in this world, I believe. Except making you into a playwright celebrated across the Viennese stage. That's just not gonna happen.
You're wrong, Kana. Soon my plays will be getting ovations at the Berg Theater.
Just because you say so, huh?
Of course. If you will it, it is no fairy tale.
Yes, it's a party at Theodor's fraternity, Albia. Theodor, dressed in his Albion uniform, practices his saber until Kana hands him a glass of punch.
By the way, this is the worst fraternity party I've ever been to. All you Albions walking around with swords, it tends to cut down on the levity.
What do you expect? We're a dueling fraternity. We do. 75 of them this year alone. We must always be ready. Which reminds me, did I tell you about my new plan?
I'll listen to it if you promise not to proclaim. I'm warning you right now, Theodor. If you start in with your proclaiming, I'm walking away. It gives me a headache every time.
Okay. Listen to this. I was thinking, what if I were to challenge one of the leading anti-Semites of Vienna to a duel?
Why would you challenge him to a duel? Seems to me you agree with them.
It's about honor. Had I been killed by my opponent, my farewell letter would have told the world that I fell victim to a most unjust movement. In this way, my death might at least have improved people's minds and hearts on the topic of the Jews. But had I killed my opponent, I would have addressed the jury in a magnificent speech, in which I would first of all deplore the death of a man of honor.
I rather like this new plan, Theodor. It's the same way Don Quixote would have done it. I assume that your role model when it comes to dealing with the Jewish question is Don Quixote.
But seriously, which one do you think I could most easily take? Between Luger, Liechtenstein, or Düring?
Why not Düring? Do it before he becomes mayor.
I don't know. Düring's older, but he's kind of stout. Oh no, what's he doing here? No one invited him. Did you?
Who?
Leitenberger. Doesn't he understand anything about Albion etiquette? I can't be seen with him.
Theodor, relax. It's just Leitenberger. What's the big deal?
Kana, come to your senses. He's Jewish.
Yeah, well, so am I. And by the way, so are you.
Exactly. Bar is right over there. And there's Schoner himself coming this way. How's it gonna look? 3 Jews huddled together? They'll think we're over here hatching some kind of conspiracy, right here in the middle of an Albion party.
Conspiracy? I don't know. Leitenberger doesn't seem like the type.
Leitenberger enters. He's a complete nebbish. He walks over to Theodor and Kana.
Herzl! Kana! Hey, I've been looking for you!
What are you doing, Leitenberger? As far as I know, we don't need a minion over here right now.
How's it going over there, Herzl? Are your girlfriends impressed with that monster Schwiez of yours?
Schoner, an Albion stud. In the end, between you and me, listener, it's just another frat guy.
Uppity Jew. Schwiez? Which? What? What the hell's a Schwiez? Am I supposed to know what that is?
It's this. Look, it's right on my cheek here. See it?
What? What am I supposed to be seeing?
Can't you see it? The lighting must not be good in this spot.
Schwiez?
My swish, for God's sakes. It's my mandatory, conspicuous manly scar achieved in battle. All Albions have one.
I'm looking for it.
Well, look harder. It's right here. During my measure, my opponent did scathe me on the cheek. Is it my fault that it happened to be a superficial wound that required only 1 stitch?
You're all a bunch of little Bismarcks. Personally, I wouldn't be caught dead in a dueling fraternity.
I don't know. I join in all the frat brothers' dirty ditties and raids, and I go to all the obligatory drinking bouts. I sing all the patriotic songs, but... I'm not fitting in. I'm just not fitting in somehow.
You're not fitting in somehow? Theodor, I came over here to ask you to resign from Albia.
Resign? Are you crazy? After all the work I've done to belong?
Theodor, open your eyes. Haven't you noticed the change in the weather around here? There are signals in the wind, my man.
May I remind you, gentlemen, that I have sworn an oath to the colors of this fraternity.
Leitenberger is right. Resign. It's your best option. I've come directly from the League to Combat Anti-Semitism on campus. We had a meeting about this. We all think you should take a stand.
None of you understand anything about honor. And besides, I don't regard the anti-Semitic movement as altogether bad.
What about Barr? You still think of him as your Albion brother, after that crazed tirade of his? At least admit that Barr is a fanatic.
No, you don't understand. Barr isn't a fanatic. He's a performer.
That event was meant to be a commemoration for Richard Wagner. Barr was the one who climbed up on stage, uninvited, and turned the whole thing into a night rally.
Yes, you see? Barr has great timing.
Great timing? Theodor, the guy demanded that all Jews be banished for public life so as to protect against the pollution of the German race.
Play in the crowd.
It was disgusting. I left in the middle. Then you missed the whole Portheim thing, Connor. Theodore, you didn't tell me that Portheim did something.
I don't want to talk about it.
Portheim climbed up on the stage after Barr. Portheim, the winner of 14 duels, the Albion poster boy himself, backed up everything Barr had said and then went a step further. Portheim demanded that Jews be permanently banned from being Albions.
It was all very awkward.
Awkward?
Well, there's only 2 Jewish members left in Albia. Me and Portheim.
Yes, I can see how that might be awkward. Resign!
I'd do it, but only if I can have an honorable dismissal. They have no right to give me anything else. There's nothing dishonorable on my record. I missed that duel for a very good reason. My father had suddenly taken ill, and I had to go and be by his side.
If not for you, resign for the League. We're depending on you to send a message. He's the worst kind of Jew. He acts like one.
League?
Yes? What's so funny about that?
League to combat anti-Semitism? Don't make me laugh.
In fact, you could be a great help to us. You see, we're hoping to start a monthly journal pretty soon.
You're gonna combat anti-Semitism with some pious publication? If you want to combat anti-Semitism, I'll tell you how to combat anti-Semitism. It's called brute force.
What?
Half a dozen well-publicized duels would greatly elevate the social position of the Jews. I can promise you that.
Duels? Is that all? Is that the only solution you have for the Jewish problem? Oh no, Leitenberger, don't. I warn you, you're heading into deep waters.
I not only have a solution to the Jewish problem, Leitenberger, I happen to have the only solution to the Jewish problem.
Oh yeah, Herzl? And what would that be?
Total immersion.
Total immersion? Here it comes.
I've got it all planned out. The conversion will take place in broad daylight, Sunday at noon in St. Stephen's Cathedral, with a solemn procession and the ringing of bells. We convert, but not in that secret way individual Jews have gone about converting in the past. But now we choose to convert with a dignified pride for all to see. And because us leaders will take our people only as far as the cathedral's gates, remaining Jews, the whole enterprise will attain a level of great sincerity. We, the leaders, will mark the last generation, but we wanted to make Christians of our young sons before they reach the age of reason, at which point conversion smacks of cowardice. But there's no dishonor if you convert when you're just an infant who doesn't know any better. I will stand and watch the procession with the Archbishop of Vienna and the Pope. At one point, they turn to me and tell me how much they regret my decision to remain with the Jews. I'm flattered by the offer, Your Holiness, but of course, honor dictates that I must stand firm and cling to the faith of my forefathers. Right before we part, the Pope turns to me and thanks me for finally putting an end to it.
That any Jew who gets a dirty look should go and fight a duel, and that all Jews should convert to Christianity may qualify as sparkling dinner conversation, but could hardly be taken seriously by serious men firmly determined to fight the scourge of racism. Theodore, What did I tell you about proclaiming?
Suddenly, a cry for help from upstairs at the party.
Someone come quick! Help!
What is it? What's wrong?
It's Portheim! He's hanged himself! He's dead!
Good for him. He's bound to get an honorable dismissal now.
Touché, Portheim! You'll always be 14-0.
Dear listener, you be the judge. Is what we're hearing unfold an Israel prequel of some kind? Or is this just the short biography of a legit, narcissistic mystic? Tune in for the next episode of The Birth of the New Ghetto to find out.